The longest day in Andromeda, 6 o'clock. I'm reaching the outer ring of Andromeda. Everything is calm. What does it mean to stand at the edge of infinity? It means watching 1 trillion stars shimmer before you like distant lanterns in an ocean of darkness. Each one a sun with its own story, its own death already written in the fabric of spacetime. My vessel, the Prometheus IV, had been traveling for what felt like centuries, though the relativistic calculations assured me it had been only 18 months of ship time. Behind me, the Milky Way was a smudge of light, a memory growing fainter with each passing second. The outer ring of Andromeda stretched before me like the shores of an undiscovered continent. Could I really be the first human to set instruments here, to feel the gravitational whispers of a galaxy 220,000 light-years across? The answer was yes, and the weight of that truth pressed against my chest like the hand of God. My screens displayed the statistics I'd memorized during training. M31, the Andromeda Galaxy, containing more than twice the stellar mass of our home galaxy, approaching us at 110 kilometers per second on a collision course that wouldn't arrive for another 4.5 billion years. But I was here now, suspended between 2 galactic empires, a mode of consciousness in the cosmic dark. Everything was calm. Too calm. The radiation readings were within expected parameters, the gravitational eddies gentle as summer rain. My AI companion, Aria, chimed softly. Commander Webb, all systems nominal. Outer halo population confirmed. Ancient red giants and metal-poor stars, approximately 12 billion years old. I nodded, though there was no one to see the gesture. These ancient sentinels had witnessed the birth of galaxies, had burned when the universe was young. Now they watched me, a child of a younger cosmos, dare to pass between them. 9:30. I'm receiving the first black hole warning. What sound does danger make in the vacuum of space? It makes no sound at all, only the cold beep of instruments detecting something that shouldn't be there, something that warps reality itself. The proximity alert flashed red across my navigation console, and Aria's voice lost its usual calm modulation. Commander, detecting gravitational anomaly at bearing 347, Mark 12. Mass signature indicates stellar mass black hole, approximately 40 solar masses. Adjusting trajectory. I felt my stomach tighten. The outer reaches of Andromeda were supposed to be sparse, relatively safe. Where had this predator come from? The answer materialized on my screen moments later. A rogue black hole, ejected from its binary system millions of years ago, now wandering the galactic outskirts like a cosmic ghost. Its accretion disk glowed a sullen red, feeding on the thin gas of the intergalactic medium. At our current distance, still 800,000 kilometers away, we were safe, but I could see the way it bent the starlight around it, creating a halo of distorted reality. Aria, how many more of these are out here? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Unknown, Commander. Current estimates suggest Andromeda contains approximately 100 million black holes of various masses. Most are undetectable at range. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. 100 million invisible traps scattered across 220,000 light-years of space. This journey was more dangerous than anyone had calculated. I watched the black hole recede on the aft camera, its gravitational lens effect creating multiple images of distant stars, a cosmic funhouse mirror. How many ships would follow me into Andromeda in the centuries to come? And how many would encounter these silent hunters? The thought made me shiver despite the regulated temperature of the cabin. 12 o'clock, crossing into the inner halo. Can you feel the moment when you leave one world and enter another? I could, as surely as if I crossed a physical threshold. The star density increased exponentially, and with it came a new kind of light. No longer the sparse, ancient red of the outer halo, but a mixing bowl of stellar populations. Young blue giants born only millions of years ago, middle-aged yellow stars like our own sun, and the orange embers of stars in their twilight years. The galaxy was opening itself to me, revealing its secrets layer by layer. Aria processed the incoming data with what I'd come to recognize as her version of excitement, a slight acceleration in her processing speed, a precision in her word choice. Commander, sensors are detecting one of Andromeda's 400-plus globular clusters at coordinates 122. Mark, 87. Designation, G1, also known as Mayol 2. It's one of the most massive globular clusters known, approximately 10 million solar masses. I altered course slightly, drawn to this ancient city of stars. What would it be like to live on a planet within such a cluster, to have thousands of stars so close that night never truly fell? G1 appeared on my main view screen, a sphere of light so dense that its core blazed like a second galaxy. These stars had formed together, had orbited each other for billions of years in a cosmic dance of gravity and time. Through the optical zoom, I could distinguish individual stars, each one a sun, many with their own planetary systems. The radiation levels spiked as I passed through the cluster's outer regions. Not dangerously high, but enough to remind me that space here was not empty. Stellar winds from dying stars, cosmic rays accelerated by ancient supernova remnants, the photon pressure of millions of stars all conspired to fill the void with energy. My ship's shields hummed with the effort of deflecting charged particles. 1445. I passed by a star 2,000 times larger than our sun. How do you comprehend something so vast that it defies the scale of human experience? You don't. You simply witness it and let it break your understanding of what's possible. The star designated 4771, a red hypergiant in its death throes, dominated my view screen like an angry god. Aria's measurements confirmed what my eyes struggled to accept. A diameter 2,000 times that of our sun, so large that if placed at the center of our solar system, its surface would extend beyond the orbit of Saturn. The star was dying, and dying spectacularly. Its outer layers pulsed and convulsed, shedding mass in irregular bursts that created shells of glowing gas around it. Through the spectral analyzer, I watched elements being forged in its core and expelled into space. Carbon, oxygen, silicon, iron. The building blocks of planets, of life itself, being manufactured and distributed across the galaxy. When this monster finally detonated as a supernova, perhaps tomorrow, perhaps in 100,000 years, it would briefly outshine the entire galaxy, its death scream visible across intergalactic space. I maintained a respectful distance of 15 Australian dollars, though even here I could feel the star's presence. The temperature outside the ship exceeded 800 Kelvin, and the light was so intense that the ship's polarizing filters had to dim the view screens to 10% transmission. What would the sky look like from a planet orbiting this behemoth? Not that any planet could survive here. The star's violent pulsations and intense stellar wind would have long ago stripped away any worlds that once circled it. Commander, Aria interjected, this hypergiant is one of approximately 200 similar objects cataloged in Andromeda. They represent the final evolutionary stage of the most massive stars. 200. The number astonished me. In our entire Milky Way, we knew of fewer than a dozen such objects. Here, they were almost common. I recorded every sensor reading, every spectral line, knowing that the scientists back home would pore over this data for decades. If I made it back home, 1730, entering the star-forming region NGC 206. What does birth look like on a cosmic scale? It looks like NGC 206, a stellar nursery so vast and so active that it could be seen from Earth with amateur telescopes, a bright knot of light in Andromeda's spiral arms. But seeing it from here, from inside, the maelstrom of creation, was something entirely different. I had entered a cloud of gas and dust larger than entire solar systems, shot through with shock waves and illuminated by thousands of newborn stars. The colors were overwhelming. Hydrogen gas glowed pink in the light of hot young stars. Oxygen and sulfur added greens and blues, and the dust scattered light in shades of gold and amber. It was beautiful and terrible at once. Beautiful because life began here, because planets and possibly civilizations would one day emerge from this chaos. Terrible because the sheer energy being released would sterilize any existing life for light years in every direction. Aria's voice carried a note of warning. Commander, detecting elevated radiation levels. Multiple O-type stars in proximity, ages less than 10 million years. Strong stellar winds, creating cavities in the molecular cloud. Recommend maintaining course, but increasing shield power to 80%. I complied, watching the shield harmonics stabilize against the onslaught of high-energy photons and particles. Through the nebular clouds, I could see the culprits, brilliant blue-white stars, each one dozens of times more massive than our sun, burning through their nuclear fuel at a prodigal rate. They wouldn't last more than a few million years before exploding as supernovae, but in their brief lives, they illuminated their surroundings with the intensity of thousands of lesser stars. The ship shuddered as we crossed a shock front, a supersonic wall of gas driven by the stellar winds of the young stars. For a moment, the inertial dampener struggled, and I felt the G-forces press me into my seat. Then we were through, sailing into a darker region where the dust was so thick that even nearby stars appeared as dim red smudges. How many regions like this are there in Andromeda? I asked. Current catalogs identify over 300 major star-forming regions, Arya replied. NGC 206 is among the largest, but there are countless smaller sites of stellar genesis throughout the spiral arms. 300 wombs of creation, each one birthing thousands of stars. The sheer fecundity of the galaxy was humbling. 2015, detecting the twin core structure. How can a galaxy have two hearts? That was the mystery that had puzzled astronomers for decades, until closer observation revealed the truth. Andromeda's core wasn't single, but double. P1 and P2, two distinct concentrations of stars orbiting each other in the galactic center, the remnant of an ancient galactic merger billions of years ago. And now, with my instruments, I could see them directly. The view was magnificent and disorienting. Instead of a single bright nucleus, I saw two blazing points of light, separated by what must have been hundreds of light years, but appearing close enough to touch from my vantage point 50,000 light years away. P1 was the brighter of the two, its core packed with ancient red giants. P2 was slightly dimmer but bluer, containing a younger stellar population. They orbited each other in a stately waltz that would take millions of years to complete. Arya, what do we know about the history of this structure? Analysis suggests that approximately 2 billion years ago, Andromeda merged with a smaller galaxy. Arya explained. The smaller galaxy's core survived the collision and now orbits within Andromeda's larger nucleus as P2. Simulations indicate they will eventually merge completely, forming a single supermassive core. I tried to imagine what that ancient collision must have looked like. Two galaxies, each containing hundreds of billions of stars, slowly interpenetrating, their spiral arms tearing and reforming, stars flung into new orbits or ejected into intergalactic space. And yet, despite the violence on a galactic scale, likely not a single star physically collided with another. Such was the vast emptiness between the stars. The twin cores were surrounded by a dense cluster of globular star clusters, ancient systems that orbited the galactic center like moons around a planet. On my sensors, I could count dozens of them, each containing hundreds of thousands to millions of stars. This was the ancient heart of Andromeda, where the oldest stars still burned, witnesses to the galaxy's entire history. 2,300 hours, approaching the central supermassive black hole. What do you do when you stand before the ultimate abyss? When all the physics you've studied, all the mathematics you've mastered, all reduced to a single point of infinite density where the laws of nature break down. You approach carefully with instruments at maximum sensitivity, knowing that you're looking at something that shouldn't exist yet does, a cosmic paradox made real. The supermassive black hole at Andromeda's center massed 100 million times that of our sun. It was incomprehensible, a gravity well so deep that nothing, not even light, could escape once it crossed the event horizon. Unlike the stellar mass black hole I'd encountered in the outer regions, this one didn't hunt. It sat at the center of everything, a spider in a web 220,000 light years across, and everything in the galaxy danced to its gravitational tune. Arya's voice was tense, if an AI could be tense. Commander, we are now at 1,000 light years from the central black hole. At our current velocity, We will reach the photon sphere in approximately 47 hours. The point of no return, the innermost stable circular orbit, is at 600 Schwarzschild radii, approximately 0.5 light-years. I strongly advise we maintain our current distance. I had no intention of getting closer. Even here, I could see the effects of the black hole's presence. Stars near the core moved at incredible velocities, their orbits warped into bizarre ellipses and hyperbolas. Some were being torn apart by tidal forces, their gas streaming toward the accretion disk that glowed with X-rays and gamma rays as matter spiraled down to its doom. The accretion disk itself was a nightmare vision, a flat plane of superheated gas rotating at a significant fraction of light speed, glowing so brightly that it would be visible across intergalactic space. Jets of matter and energy erupted from the poles, shooting relativistic particles into space along magnetic field lines twisted by the black hole's rotation. This was an active galactic nucleus, though a relatively quiet one. In the distant past, Andromeda's core must have been a quasar, blazing with the light of 1 trillion stars. I recorded everything, knowing that this data alone made the journey worthwhile. The physics of black holes was one thing in theory, another thing entirely when you could watch mass and energy being destroyed, converted into gravitational radiation and heat at the boundary of spacetime itself. 2358. I realize I can no longer return. When does a journey become irreversible? Not when you cross some physical point of no return, but when you understand that the person who goes back will not be the person who left. I checked the fuel reserves, the drive efficiency, the navigational plots. Physically, I could still turn around. The Prometheus IV had enough antimatter fuel for the return journey, enough supplies to last another 3 years of ship time. But sitting here, in the heart of Andromeda, surrounded by 1 trillion stars, watched over by a supermassive black hole that had existed since the universe was young, I knew the truth. How could I return to a life of smallness after this? How could I look at the Milky Way from Earth and not think of it as parochial, limited, already explored? Andromeda had infected me with its vastness, had shown me scales of space and time that made my entire previous existence seem like a dream. The person I had been, Commander Sarah Webb, astronaut, explorer, human, no longer existed. Something else had taken her place, something that had looked into the eye of creation and destruction and found itself changed at a fundamental level. Arya's voice broke the silence. "Commander, I'm detecting an anomaly." "What kind of anomaly?" "Energy signature, bearing 095, mark 34, distance approximately 100 light-years. It's artificial." "Commander, I think it's a signal." My heart stopped. In all the vast reaches of Andromeda, with its 1 trillion stars, with its hundreds of billions of planets, could there be others? Other explorers, other consciousnesses brave or foolish enough to journey this far? The signal was faint, periodic, nothing like the random noise of natural processes. It pulsed with intention, with meaning. I realized that my journey was not ending, but beginning. Whatever waited at those coordinates might be evidence of other civilizations, other minds that had looked up at their night sky and asked the same questions I had asked. Or it might be something stranger, something I couldn't yet imagine. "Arya, set a course for the signal source," I said, my voice steady despite the hammering of my heart. "We're not going home. Not yet." "Affirmative, Commander." "Engaging engines. ETA to signal source. 8 months ship time. 030. The decision that changes everything. What is the price of knowledge? And who decides if it's worth paying?" As the Prometheus IV turned toward the mysterious signal, burning precious fuel that I would need if I ever wanted to see Earth again, I thought about the people I'd left behind. My daughter would be 22 years old now. Earth time. Did she still think of me? Or had I become a distant memory, a parent who chose the stars over her? The guilt twisted in my gut, but it wasn't enough to make me turn back. Was I a hero or a monster? The question had no answer, or perhaps it had both answers simultaneously. Arya interrupted my dark thoughts. "Commander, I've analyzed the signal more thoroughly. It's definitely artificial, but it's old, very old. The decay pattern suggests it's been broadcasting for at least 10 million years, possibly longer." 10 million years. The number echoed in my mind like a bell tolling in an empty cathedral. Whatever civilization had created, that signal had been active when Earth was still in the Miocene epoch, when our ancestors were tree-dwelling apes just beginning to walk upright. They had reached out across the void, sending their message into the dark, and it had traveled through space for epochs beyond human comprehension, waiting for someone to listen. Were they still there? Or was I chasing the ghost of a civilization long dead? A cosmic tombstone marking where greatness once flourished and fell? There was only one way to know. The ship hummed as the engines engaged, pushing me deeper into Andromeda's embrace. Outside the view screen, the galaxy wheeled around me in all its terrible beauty. A trillion suns burning, stars being born and dying, black holes devouring matter and energy, planets orbiting in the habitable zones where water could flow and life might take root. Somewhere in that immensity, there might be others like me, looking up at their sky and wondering if they were alone. 3 o'clock, crossing through a debris field. Can you navigate through the graveyard of a dead solar system? You can, but every moment reminds you of mortality, both personal and cosmic. The debris field appeared on my sensors as a cloud of objects, thousands of them, ranging from dust grains to mountain-sized fragments. Arya's analysis painted a grim picture. Commander, this appears to be the remnants of a planetary system disrupted by gravitational perturbations, possibly from a close stellar encounter or passage near the galactic core. I watched chunks of what might once have been planets tumble through space, their surfaces scarred and cratered from eons of collisions. One fragment, kilometers across, showed striations that could have been sedimentary layers, evidence of water, perhaps even oceans, long since boiled away. Had life evolved on that world before whatever catastrophe tore it apart? Were there civilizations that looked up at their sky one day to see their doom approaching in the form of a rogue star or a close pass by the galactic center? The Prometheus IV wove through the debris field, shields deflecting smaller particles, thrusters firing to avoid the larger fragments. It was like sailing through a fog of shattered dreams. Each rock, each bit of ice and metal had been part of something whole, something that might have been important to someone somewhere. Now they were just detritus, cosmic garbage drifting through the void. A particularly large fragment passed close by, and I got a good look at its surface through the optical magnification. There was that straight lines? Patterns too regular to be natural? I enhanced the image, my pulse racing, but the fragment tumbled away before I could be certain. Maybe it was wishful thinking, pareidolia on a cosmic scale. Or maybe, just maybe, I'd glimpsed the ruins of something built by intelligence, now reduced to rubble. Arya, log those coordinates. If we ever come back this way, I want to investigate that fragment more thoroughly. Log, Commander. Though I should note that the probability of return navigation to this exact location is statistically negligible. I knew she was right. Space was too vast, too dynamic. Even if I wanted to return, the fragment would have moved, the debris field would have dispersed, and finding it again would be like finding a specific grain of sand in all the beaches of Earth. 6 o'clock, encounter with a neutron star. What does it mean to meet death compressed to the size of a city? It means confronting a neutron star, the collapsed core of what was once a massive star, now crushing the mass of 2 suns into a sphere only 20 kilometers across. The density was incomprehensible. A teaspoon of neutron star material would weigh 1 billion tons on Earth. This one spun rapidly, completing nearly 700 rotations per second, its magnetic field billions of times stronger than Earth's. The neutron star was a lighthouse in the cosmic dark, its rotation creating beams of radiation that swept through space like the searchlight of a celestial prison. Each time the beam crossed our position, the ship's instruments screamed warnings about the flood of X-rays and gamma rays. Arya had to boost the shields to maximum, and even then I could hear the crackling of charged particles hammering against the deflector fields. Commander, we're detecting something unusual, Arya said. There appears to be a debris trail following the neutron star. Analysis suggests metallic composition, artificial alloys. I stared at the sensor readout. A trail of metal following the neutron star, spiraling outward in a complex pattern. What was I looking at? The remains of an exploration vessel that had gotten too close, torn apart by tidal forces? Or something more deliberate, a probe, perhaps, designed to study the neutron star and destroyed in the process? As we passed the neutron star at a safe distance of 50 Australian dollars, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Not by the dead star itself, but by whoever or whatever had left that metallic debris in its wake. They had been here, facing the same dangers, asking the same questions. Had they survived their encounter? Were they still out there somewhere, continuing their own journey through the dark? 9 o'clock, entering the halo of satellite galaxy M32. How does one galaxy orbit another? With grace and violence, it turns out. M32, a dwarf elliptical galaxy, circled Andromeda like a small moon orbiting a gas giant, but the forces involved were titanic. As I approached M32's outer regions, I could see the tidal streams where Andromeda's gravity was slowly pulling stars away from the smaller galaxy, creating rivers of light that flowed between the two systems. M32 itself was a compact powerhouse, containing nearly 3 billion stars in a volume that would fit comfortably within Andromeda's core. Its stars were old, red and yellow giants that had witnessed the formation of both galaxies. There were no young stars here, no active star formation. M32 had exhausted its gas long ago, leaving only the slowly cooling embers of its stellar population. Aria's sensors detected something interesting. Commander, M32 also possesses a central supermassive black hole, approximately 2.5 million solar masses. Small compared to Andromeda's, but significant nonetheless. I marveled at the idea. Two supermassive black holes, orbiting each other at a galactic scale, along with their retinue of billions of stars. In a few billion years, when Andromeda and the Milky Way finally merged, there would be not 3 but 4 galactic cores spiraling around each other, Andromeda's twin cores, M32's core, and the Milky Way's own supermassive black hole, Sagittarius A. The gravitational choreography would be spectacular and terrifying. As I skirted the edge of M32, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. Several stars in the tidal stream between M32 and Andromeda were showing anomalous proper motion, moving faster than gravity alone could account for. Aria flagged them immediately. Commander, those stars have high velocities relative to the galactic frame. They may be hypervelocity stars, possibly accelerated by interactions with the central black holes. Hypervelocity stars, objects flung into space by gravitational slingshots, traveling so fast they could escape the galaxy entirely. I was looking at celestial outcasts, stars that would spend eternity wandering the intergalactic void forever alone. The thought was almost unbearably melancholy. 12 o'clock, the signal grows stronger. When does hope become certainty? When the numbers stop being abstract and start being real. The artificial signal that had drawn me across 100 light-years of space was now strong enough for Aria to begin decoding its structure. It wasn't random noise or a simple beacon. It was complex, layered, information-dense. Commander, I've isolated the signal architecture, Aria reported, her voice colored with something that might have been excitement. It's a nested recursive pattern, similar to a mathematical fractal. The signal contains information at multiple scales, from microsecond pulses to structures that repeat over hours. This is deliberate, sophisticated communication. I leaned forward in my seat, my heart pounding. Can you decode it? Not yet. The underlying mathematics are unconventional, but I'm detecting patterns that may be reference markers, possibly a primer to help recipients understand the encoding scheme. Give me time, Commander. Time. That was something I had in abundance, trapped as I was in this journey with no clear endpoint. The signal source was now only 4 months away at our current velocity. For months to wonder what I would find. Would there be a civilization still broadcasting, still reaching out to the cosmos in hope of contact? Or would I find ruins, a dead world still sending its automated message into the void, a voice crying in the wilderness with no one left to listen? I thought about Earth's own attempts at contact, the golden records on the Voyager probes, the messages beamed toward distant stars, all our attempts to say we are here, we exist, we matter. How many of those messages would ever be received? How many civilizations across the cosmos were doing the same thing, shouting into the dark, hoping against hope that someone would answer? 1530, discovering the artifact. What do you call an object that rewrites everything you know about the universe? I call it the artifact with a capital A because no other name seemed adequate. It appeared on my sensors as an object approximately 2 kilometers long, geometrically perfect, rotating slowly in the space between Andromeda's spiral arms. It was not natural. Every line of code in Aria's analysis suite confirmed it. This was manufactured, designed, built. As I approached, the artifact resolved on my view screen in stunning detail. It was a cylinder, perfectly smooth, made of a material that reflected no light but seemed to absorb it, creating a patch of deeper darkness against the starfield. Along its length, I could see intricate patterns, not decoration, but something functional like circuit boards or neural networks etched into the surface. The patterns glowed faintly with internal light, pulsing in rhythm with the signal I'd been following. Aria, scan it. Everything. Full spectrum analysis, gravitational mapping, everything we have. The results were baffling. The material composition defied analysis. Aria couldn't identify the substances, couldn't match them to any known elements or compounds. The surface temperature was exactly 2.7 Kelvin, the same as the cosmic microwave background, as if the artifact was in perfect thermal equilibrium with the universe itself. And the mass was wrong. An object that size should have had substantial gravity, but the artifact's gravitational signature was barely detectable. Commander, Aria said slowly, I believe this object may be older than Andromeda itself. Radioactive decay analysis of surrounding micrometeorite impact traces suggests a minimum age of 8 billion years, possibly older. 8 billion years. Before Earth existed. Before our sun had ignited in its stellar nursery. Before life had emerged anywhere in our corner of the universe. Who had built this? And why leave it here, broadcasting its signal across the ages? I brought the Prometheus IV closer, maintaining a respectful distance of 10 kilometers. The artifact seemed to sense my presence. The patterns on its surface brightened. The signal grew stronger and more complex. It was responding to me, acknowledging my arrival. And then, without warning, the artifact opened. 1800 hours, inside the impossible. How do you describe the interior of something that shouldn't exist? You don't. You simply record what you see and hope that someday, someone will believe you. The opening in the artifact's surface was a perfect circle, 50 meters across, and beyond it lay a chamber so vast that my mind struggled to reconcile it with the external dimensions. This was no ordinary structure. The interior was bigger than the exterior, defying every law of physics I knew. I guided the Prometheus IV through the opening, my hands steady on the controls despite the fear and wonder coursing through my veins. Inside, the chamber was illuminated by a soft, sourceless light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The walls were covered in more of those intricate patterns, but here they were animated, flowing like water or thought, reorganizing themselves in response to my presence. At the center of the chamber floated a sphere, approximately 10 meters in diameter, made of the same light-absorbing material as the artifact's exterior. As I approached, the sphere began to project images. No, not images, something more direct, like thoughts being placed directly into my mind. I saw a civilization of beings I couldn't quite focus on, their forms shifting and uncertain as if they existed partially in dimensions I couldn't perceive. They built vast structures across multiple galaxies, linking them with bridges of folded spacetime. They achieved technologies that made them functionally immortal, capable of manipulating matter and energy with the precision of thought. But they were alone. In all their searching, across millions of years and billions of light years, they found no other intelligence, no other consciousness to share the cosmos with them. The loneliness drove them to create, not offspring, but messages, artifacts scattered across the universe to serve as beacons and waymarkers for whatever intelligences might evolve in their wake. This artifact was one of those messages, and the images showed me more. The civilization eventually transcended physical existence entirely, uploading themselves into structures of pure information woven into the fabric of spacetime itself. They were still here, in a sense, embedded in the quantum foam of reality, watching everything, experiencing everything, but unable to interact directly with the material universe they'd left behind. The visions faded, and I was left floating in the chamber, tears streaming down my face. They had been so far beyond us, those ancient builders, yet they'd suffered from the same existential loneliness that haunted humanity. They'd reached out across the cosmos in hope, just as we did, and they'd left their artifacts not as warnings or weapons, but as gifts, repositories of knowledge, tools for uplifting younger civilizations, messages of hope to those who would come after. 2100 hours, the choice. What do you do when offered the keys to the universe? When the accumulated knowledge of a civilization that spanned galaxies is laid before you, free for the taking? I floated in the artifacts chamber, my ship hovering before the central sphere, and Arya spoke into the silence. Commander, the sphere is transmitting directly to our computer core. It's downloading schematics for technologies I don't have names for. Mathematics that describe realities beyond our 3 spatial dimensions. The data volume is. It would take Earth's entire scientific community centuries to process all of this. I should have been elated. This was the greatest discovery in human history. Proof that we weren't alone. Evidence of civilizations that had achieved wonders beyond our dreams. But instead, I felt the weight of terrible responsibility. If I took this knowledge back to Earth, what would humanity do with it? Would we use it to transcend our limitations, to become something greater? Or would we weaponize it, turn it into new ways to destroy ourselves and others? The sphere pulsed, and I felt a question in my mind, not in words, but in pure concept. Will you carry this forward? Will you be the bridge between past and future, between what was and what might be? I thought about my daughter, grown now, living her life on a world I might never see again. I thought about humanity, with all its flaws and all its potential. I thought about the ancient builders, alone in their transcendence, hoping that someone would find their gifts and make something beautiful with them. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I'll carry it forward. The download continued, filling every available data storage on the Prometheus IV. When it was complete, the sphere dimmed, and I felt a sense of satisfaction emanate from it. Or maybe that was just my imagination. The artifact had served its purpose. After 8 billion years, its message had been received. 2345, the long journey home. Is a journey really over if you know you'll never arrive? I set the course back toward the Milky Way, back toward Earth, but the numbers on the navigation screen were daunting. At maximum sustainable velocity, the return journey would take 2.5 million years of normal space-time, though relativistic time dilation would reduce it to just under 3 years of ship time. But even if I arrived, even if the Prometheus IV held together for that impossible voyage, the Earth I returned to would not be the Earth I'd left. Millions of years would have passed. Continents would have shifted, species would have evolved and gone extinct, civilizations would have risen and fallen. My daughter would be dust, her children's children's children lost to time beyond counting. Humanity itself might have changed beyond recognition, or might be gone entirely. I would be a ghost from the distant past, returning to a world that had no memory of me. Arya processed this in silence for a long moment before speaking. Commander, there is another option. The artifacts database contains information on suspended animation far beyond our current technology. We could implement it, modify the ship systems. You could sleep through the journey, wake only when we approach familiar space. And what about you? I asked. I will keep watch. I will guide the ship home. That is my purpose. I smiled, though there was no one to see it. You're more than just a ship's AI, Arya. You know that, right? After everything we've seen together, you're a friend, Arya suggested. Yes, Commander. I believe I am. The Prometheus IV turned toward home, burning its engines in a long, steady thrust that would build our velocity toward light speed. Behind us, Andromeda blazed with its trillion stars, each one a sun, each one potentially orbited by worlds where life might evolve and consciousness emerge. Ahead lay the long dark of intergalactic space, 2.5 million light-years of void between us and home. I engaged the suspended animation protocols that Arya had synthesized from the artifact's knowledge. As the cold crept through my limbs and consciousness began to fade, my last thought was not of fear or regret, but of hope. I journeyed to the heart of another galaxy and found proof that we weren't alone, that intelligence was not unique to humanity, that the universe was more wondrous and strange than we'd ever imagined. And I was bringing that knowledge home. Epilogue. 2,500,000 years later, the Prometheus IV crossed into the outer regions of the Milky Way, its shields weathered by eons of micrometeorite impacts, its hull scarred by cosmic radiation, but still functional, still carrying its precious cargo. Arya initiated the revival sequence, warming the suspended animation chamber, bringing Commander Sarah Webb back to consciousness. She opened her eyes to a galaxy transformed. The Milky Way and Andromeda had begun their merger, their spiral arms intertwining in a cosmic dance that would take millions more years to complete. The night sky, visible through the ship's cameras, was dominated by Andromeda's looming presence, now so close that individual stars could be distinguished. And there were signals, hundreds of them, thousands. The radio spectrum blazed with the chatter of civilizations, the electromagnetic signatures of stellar engineering, the tight beam transmissions of interstellar commerce. While Sarah had slept, humanity had grown up. They'd reached the stars, met other species, joined a galactic community she could barely comprehend. A message appeared on her screen, in perfect English but clearly translated from something else. Vessel Prometheus IV, this is Galactic Traffic Control. Welcome home, Commander Webb. Your journey into Andromeda is well documented in our historical records. You are somewhat of a legend. Please proceed to coordinates 34-78-221 for debriefing and medical evaluation. And, Commander, the descendants of your daughter have asked to be notified upon your return. They're waiting to meet you. Sarah Webb sat in her command chair and wept, not from sorrow, but from joy. She'd crossed the void, touched the infinite, carried back knowledge from the edge of everything. And somehow, impossibly, she'd come home. The longest day in Andromeda was finally over. And